All right, my beautiful people, this is ERGJ back with another video. I'm glad that you are here. Again, if you are liking the information or the content that I'm putting out, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. The more likes I get, the more I know that I'm doing something that's good for the people. Today, we're going to be actually talking about three different incidents. So this might be a little bit longer video than normal, but I really want to try to help connect dots here and to understand that these incidents are not really isolated. We can start to learn the story that's being scripted or staged across the world. And so, for those that I understand that it's very, very difficult to change the way that we think because we've been thinking the way we have been for so long. We've been programmed by television, by media for so long that it's very difficult to believe that we've been lied to our entire lives. And that's okay. Hopefully, this will be a seed for you to just do some thinking, do your own research, look into things. And quite frankly, guys, most people just won't do the research. Most people just won't read, and that's okay. That's why we have people like myself and others that are out there to try and expose truth, or at least open up our minds to actually think differently than how we've been programmed. It's like being in the matrix. So I start here, again, always starting here to let you know and to make sure that you are aware that it's legal for the government to lie to the American people, not only just the American people, but also foreign people as well. So even though events happen outside of the country, doesn't mean that we haven't been lied to. Now, I will say this, events that happen, if you understand war, and this is a war on the poor, quite honestly, because any of these events that happen, they typically happen to poor people. You don't see rich people dying in these protests or dying in these terrorist attacks. It's typically always poor people. So, if you understand that propaganda can be used against American people, this tells us that the National Defense Authorization Act allows the U.S. government to use propaganda against Americans. The U.S. government has unbound illegal regulations against using propaganda against foreign audiences and American citizens. The intention is to sway public opinion by using television, radio, newspapers, and social media, targeting the American and foreign people in controlled psyops, controlled psychological operations. Controlled means staged. Controlled means scripted. Controlled doesn't mean that no one died. Controlled doesn't mean that there were no casualties in this war. Yes, quite frankly, some people, there may be casualties, but we have to begin to think and understand, man, what is the real story that's being told? Is it true? And what is the agenda? Now, as we get into the agenda, what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about Turkey and France, because for some reason, people still won't open their minds up to think. And so what I do is I take the written word. Many of you guys are going to look at videos, which is fine. I'm not the guy to look at videos. I'm going to look at the words that are written, and I'm going to visualize it in my mind. I'm going to just imagine this happening. And so we're going to start with an event that took place back in early July, late June or early July, which many people forgot. And this was the bombing that took place in Istanbul at the airport. When this story came out, I said to myself, man, this sounds like a complete hoax. So the highlights of this story is 42 people died. Turkey says all information suggests it was ISIS carried out the target, but nothing is for certain. Make sure you guys can see this. And then the airport terminal was back in business, except for a few shops that remained closed. Now, just looking at the highlights, guys, because I really want to try and get through this as fast as possible. There was a bombing that took place, and then actually multiple bombings that took place. 42 people supposedly died. They connected to say that ISIS. Anytime we hear ISIS, anytime I hear ISIS, I know that it is a part of the agenda. If you don't know what ISIS is, the agenda is against Muslims. I don't know why. I got ideas of why. Maybe you guys can provide some of your understanding in the comments below. But there is an attack on ISIS. Not on ISIS, on Muslims. There's also an attack on Christians in America. And if you don't understand that, then just look at all the laws that have been passed that go against the beliefs of Christians and the Bible. But as it relates to foreign territory, the attack is on Muslims. Anytime you hear ISIS, it's a connection to Muslims, and anytime you have someone that has done something like in France, his name is Muhammad. Interesting, huh? Just a coincidence for most people, but we have to begin to open our eyes and see. And in the airport terminal, this is what gave it away for me. The airport terminal was back in business only a few hours after this took place. So you mean to tell me that there were 3 bombings that took place in your airport, and the airport is back up and ready to go in a few hours after this bombing? I mean, that just after 42 people have died, all of this blood all over the airport, evidence that needs to be taken, that needs to be investigated, and we're back in business. Just didn't make any sense to me. So at any rate, the name here, Erdogan, we'll find his name again when we get to the newest Turkey incident that took place with the Turkey coup. And for all of these incidents, I'm calling them false flags. Again, I'm not saying that no one died. I don't question the loss of life. What I question is the story that is that's a controlled psyop, a controlled psychological operation, staged event to further push the agenda. In this particular agenda, we got the agenda to fight or terror or war on Muslims. This particular agenda is pushing forth more. It's going to lead us to what we have with the Turkey coup, which the agenda seems to be martial law, not just for Turkey, but across the country. So you got to understand what the agenda. When we understand, when we start to piece together, and what is the point? Why would they do something like this? Somebody said to me, well, why don't they just kill people? It's easy to just kill people. I said, yeah, it is easy to just kill people. But if you just kill people and they know who killed them, then guess what? There's a revolt. And it's more of us than it is of them. So they don't want us coming against them. They want us fighting one another. They want us scared. They want us to be in fear. So we won't think. And because we won't think, we won't come together and unite. We'll stay divided, and divided we fall. When I say we, I'm talking about all poor people across the world. This is not just a black thing. It's not just a white thing. Not just a Christian thing. It's not just a Muslim thing. This is the elite, the supreme, who are ruling. It tells us in the Bible that the rich rule over the poor. And that is exactly what they're doing. They want to rule, control, and basically they want to steal your heart, your mind, and your soul. At any rate, so Erdogan, his comments came after that. I really don't want to go too much into the story, but I really want to look here at this map that they gave us. Terror attack at Istanbul's Ataturk Airport. Remember this Ataturk Airport, because I believe this is the same airport that in the Turkey coup they took over. So basically a month after an attack took place, a bombing in this airport, we had the supposed coup that took over this airport, and that's where they got started. So anyway, we had some explosions that took place. Now remember, explosions, bombs went off. And after the bombs went off, which seems to be a little bit further away, it's at the international terminal. So they probably have more international flights going here than domestic, if you think about it, because this is Turkey. So I don't know how much how many domestic flights they have coming in, but this is the international terminal, the same terminal that reopened about 5 hours after all of this destruction took place. Is that believable, guys? See, no one's really looking into this stuff like this. Now, in this story, they talk about, they connect a lot of different stories. They talk about the Paris Bataclan. Remember, Paris had a Bataclan where someone did a mass shooting of suicide bombings. That took place before the Nice, France thing, and that left 89 people dead. They also talked about the history of suicide bombings in Brussels. And so this is supposedly suicide bombings that took place in an international airport, and that airport opened up about 5 hours later. Some kind of way they got all the blood cleaned up. Some kind of way they did all the investigations that they needed to do. They did all of the criminal stuff that they needed to do, criminal investigations. They got fingerprints. They wiped the area clean, and 5 hours later, they were back up and running. Very, very fishy. Smells very, very funny to me. Anyway, they had 42 that were died after a woman showed up. Again, I'm trying to speed through this. 239 people wounded, 128 remain hospitalized. So this is after bombings. Supposedly have 42 people dead. Remember these numbers. After a bombing, 42 people dead. 3 bombings in an enclosed area. We have 42 people dead, supposedly 239 wounded, 128 hospitalized. Now you can go in and look at the videos if you like. You'll begin to see that you really don't see much death. I mean, what they do is they give us video that makes it appear like something happened, but for some reason we never get video that shows exactly what happened. The video will cut off. It'll be people running. It'll be people screaming. And not that any of that stuff didn't happen, but you never ever get video showing someone getting killed, showing someone, right after a bomb. Because if a bomb went off, guys, you're going to have body parts all over the place. It's not a shot. It's a bomb that went off. But of course, they know that we won't think like this. And so we'll take the story as is. So at any rate, again, the airport reopens just 5 hours after terrorists struck. Travelers returned to the site of carnage, much to the surprise of some critics. Now you think about this for yourself. 3 bombs go off in an enclosed area on the international side of an airport. In your local place, wherever you may be, will that airport be back open 5 hours after tragedy or carnage struck? I think not. So again, we're talking about the blood at Ataturk Airport. Now, let's move forward because again, I'm trying to get through this as quickly as possible just to give you guys some highlights. We got the France attack. Now I'm just going to look at the highlights again. Here, this is happening in Nice, France 2 days ago. We had, again, ISIS says one of the shows, ISIS connection here. Again, ISIS, the war on Muslims. Among there are dead everywhere, one victim said in a frantic call. Now, real quick, the man used a 20-ton truck to plow down hundreds of people in Nice this week, killing 84, somehow became radicalized very quickly and hadn't even shown up on any anti-terrorist intelligence radar. The story is he took a truck. Let's go through the story because this is just very, very funny to me. For people that can believe this, I don't know. He has a 20-ton truck. He's plowing through crowds of people and killing them. And I want to ask you this question. I want everybody to think about this. Have you ever hit a deer before? Have you ever hit an animal before? And once you think about that, I want to ask you, have you seen any blood on the truck? We saw bullet holes. We saw the truck damaged in the front. Did you see any blood on this truck? Good question to ask, because if this truck hit 84 people, killed 84 people, you would think that there would be blood all over the windshield, all over the window. There'll be blood all over the front of the truck. There'll be blood all over the sides of the truck. Have you seen any blood on the truck that supposedly killed 84 people and wounded about 1,000 people? Of course, again, guys, they don't want us to ask these type of questions because they want us to accept the story that they give us. Now, I'm not saying that people didn't die, but my question is, did 84 people get ran over by a truck by one man with one handgun and one truck? Question for you to think about. Because, of course, they're not going to want us to think about stuff like this. Yes, we have. They've got, venue still. Have you seen any blood anywhere? They tell us that they give us the name of the man here, Mohammed Salam. Of course, his name is Mohammed. He's connected to ISIS. New developments in investigation. I don't really want to spend a whole bunch of time here, but I do want to look at this truck route map. So here we have where they say that the terrorists fired several times on 3 police officers. So now they're saying he didn't fire into the crowd. He fired several times at 3 police officers. Now he has one handgun. So with this one handgun that he has, how many people do you think he could kill with one handgun while he's driving, supposedly? Then we had a Westminster Hotel, and then we have the truck drove through the crowd for 1.2 miles on the Promenade d'Anglos before it was stopped near the Hotel Minister. So it looks like right here, it started here and went to here, and supposedly all through this way he was zigzagging. No video that you've seen has shown the truck zigzagging. All the video that you've seen has shown the truck going straight. But of course, we believe what people tell us. We believe what they show us on television, and we don't think about it ourselves. Have you seen any footage of this truck zigzagging in the crowd and hitting people? Have you seen it? No, you haven't. Have you seen any blood on this truck at any point in time, anywhere on the truck? Have you seen any blood? No, I don't think so. And you want to ask yourself why. Why don't I see any blood on the front of a truck that's just hit 84, killed 84 people and wounded about 1,000 others? That's the only question I got to ask. I mean, look at this truck. Do you see any blood on this truck? Jack, where did it go? Where'd the picture go? Oh, man, I missed it. Oh, let me go back. Here it is. Do you see any blood on this truck? This is all I got to say. This is all that's necessary. Any blood on this truck. But of course, I am a conspiracy theorist. Of course, I'm a person that, because I think against what normal people would think about it, I'm the one that's crazy. But I don't know anybody that sees any blood on this truck. So anyway, that happened in France. That was another what I consider a false flag, a controlled psyop, staged event. Doesn't mean that look at this. There are dead everywhere. They're dead everywhere, but there's no blood on the truck. So, quite possibly people could have died. But how did they die? Again, I don't question the loss of life. What I question is the story. Bodies are flying in the air, but no blood on the truck. He said he's going 60 or 70 kilometers per hour, but no blood on the truck. Again, something for you to think about. Now, let's go on over to the Turkey Coup. That's going to be my last thing I want to talk about. This happened just yesterday. So yesterday, I was all in my emotions. I was like, man, this seems to be real. The stations, they didn't have any answers. Typically, they have answers like 5 or 10 minutes later. But no, they didn't have answers. They didn't know what was going on. I was like, man, maybe Turkey is a revolt. But then when I woke up this morning, I started thinking about the old attack that took place at the Antatar airport. And now we have a new thing that's going on with Turkey, and it's now over. And I asked myself, the first thing I asked myself, how is it over? If you are a military, a military type of operation, and you're going against the government, you're not going to surrender. You are going to die. That is it. There's going to be no surrender. You're only going to fight for 4 hours for your freedom or for your martial law. Again, this is an agenda. This agenda, again, ISIS is involved right here. U.S. Nuclear air base and operations against ISIS. ISIS, the war against Muslims. This is also where you see the initiation of martial law. This is what they call predictive programming. So get ready across the world to see martial law. United States, it seems to be that we're getting closer and closer to martial law. I don't have time to go in and do your research on what martial law is. This is called predictive programming. They're introducing something somewhere else so that it can be introduced and accepted somewhere else. Think about, if you're in the United States, think about, the gay agenda and how 30 years ago it wasn't accepted, but they introduced it and kept introducing it, and now it's accepted. Transgenders, 30 years ago it wasn't accepted, but they introduced it, predictive program, and they kept introducing it until it became mainstream and accepted. This is how they work. This is how the establishment operates. With the things that they want to push forward, they introduce it. It's called subtle. And they introduce it enough until it becomes, they tell a lie long enough until everyone believes that it's true. So, Turkey Coup, violent, chaotic night in Turkey. Again, you guys can watch all the video that you want. It's easier for me to just read. If I read, I can think. And if I can think, I can come up. I'm asking myself, is this really real? A violent, chaotic night in Turkey ended with 161 people dead, but the government says Saturday remains firmly controlled following a coup. Meanwhile, Turkey's military authorities have closed airspace around Turkey Nuclear Air Base. The site allows the United States to use for operations related to its air campaign against ISIS in Syria and Iraq, the U.S. defense official told CNN. So look, there's a connection between Turkey, and the United States. Of course, they're in cahoots. That's why I can go back to the propaganda. It's used against foreign audiences and American citizens. The connection, Turkey, United States, to use for operations related for their air campaign against ISIS again. This has led to a halt in the U.S. airstrike missions against ISIS from that location, the official said on condition of anonymity. Turkey's officials told the United States the airspace has been closed until they can make sure all the elements of Turkey's Air Force are in the hands of pro-government forces. It's all about the pro-government. Again, it's all about pro-government. It's not about pro-people. It's about pro-government. You got to understand that it's about the government. It's not about the people. It's about the government. Government wants to be in control of the people, and we allow it because guess what? If this were real and Turkey were to go against the government and Turkey was to revolt and win, oh my goodness, that changes the game. But no. It wasn't, it's not going to change the game because this was a controlled PSYOP, controlled psychological operation, staged event, all for pro-government. There was one exception, a small number of U.S. planes that were, why are we even talking about this airbase? We want to talk about the thing that happened. Uprising under control. Let's see if I can get to some good stuff here. I'm doing this off the top of my head. Now, Turkey's attempt coup by the numbers, at least 161 people killed, 2,839 military officers were detained, at least 1,100 people were wounded. One airfield still under military fractions. At least 200 soldiers turned themselves in to police in Ankara. Remember that name, Ankara. That's where that airport was. We see this name again, Erdogan. 11 years he's been in office. 11 years this man has been prime minister. Isn't it time for a change? And look, in America, we got Obama trying to go for a third term, which would be 12 years if he gets that. He keeps hitting at it. Isn't that interesting? Listen to 2014 year that Erdogan ran for president and won. So he's been prime minister. He was 11 years prime minister, and now he's president. Look at this. All right. So when I compare this, I say, man, 161 deaths, and we had tanks, we had bombs, we had military. But over here in France, one man, one gun, and one truck to take out 80-something people. Come on, guys. This is real life Hollywood. Can't make this up. We got a group of militants who went up against the military, went up against the government, and 5 hours later, 7 hours later, something like that, they were detained. 7 hours later, they gave 200 soldiers turned themselves in. Does this sound like, you got to ask yourself, if you were part of this military group, are you turning yourself in after you have gone up against the government? No. This is a fight for your rights. This is a fight for what you say that you believe in. This is your fight. You don't turn yourself in. You fight until death. Do you understand how the military works? That's just like saying we went over to, United States went over to Iraq and fought ISIS and then decided we were going to turn ourselves into the ISIS, government. This stuff doesn't make sense, guys. If they were going to turn themselves in, why did they start the fight anyway? Did they start the fight and decide, oh, we can't win this, let's turn ourselves in? Did they have a moral thought in their body that said, you know what, this is a bad idea, turning themselves in, getting detained? No, if you're going to start the fight, you fight until the finish, and that will be, unfortunately, until death. Yes, some people did die more than likely in this event, but this was, in my opinion, it was a controlled PSYOP to put fear into the people of martial law and to bring us back to pro-government. We believe in our government. You had people on the streets that were out there because of the president taught them and spoke to them and told them to get out in the streets, and they did. And so now the belief is behind the government, and the government is controlling the people. Don't you guys see this? All right. And I'm probably going to do a little bit more on this, but here we go. Key locations, Istanbul. Remember that, Istanbul airport from before. Istanbul. Antarik Airport. Remember, President Erdogan returned to Istanbul from the seaside. So this is the airport, the same airport that was here in the previous story. All this stuff links, guys. All this stuff links. So, and guess what, guys? Erdogan, he emerges victorious. Makes him look like a hero. And then he had to surrender. I mean, come on, man. I don't even want... All right, shortly after dawn, video footage shows soldiers surrendering en masse. At least 200 soldiers turned themselves into police in Ankara, Turkish state media reported. They walked away from the tanks and abandoned their posts. Turkish Airlines resumed flights out of Istanbul, which had earlier been overrun by terrorists. So again, the airlines resumed flights after this massive coup d'etat, this massive eruption against the government. Guess what? The airports are back online. Imagine that, guys. Civil unrest, martial law, all these people killed and died, and guess what? Back to business. It's all about government. It's all about business. It's all about pushing the agenda forward. Erdogan now looks like a hero, so he may stay in office after stay in office after his 2014 election. Now he's the hero of the country. This is all used to manipulate the mind and to tell us who is the good cop, who is the bad cop. So we won't question some of this stuff and actually begin to quite possibly really overthrow. Look at this, arrogance, rise. Look at these headlines, rise to power, his rise to power. You see? Do you see what they're doing? All right, guys. I didn't give you enough, probably didn't give you enough today, but I really wanted to try and link this stuff together. I can come back and do more videos. There's plenty of stuff out there. Do your research. Think critically. Because here's the deal, man. They want us to see what they want us to see, and they want us to believe what they show us. There's got to be people out there who are free thinkers, who think about this stuff and ask yourself, where is the blood on the truck? How does a revolt end, a coup end 5-6 hours later after they started? This is someone that's going against the government. Everybody knows if you take that step, that is a fighting to death. Again, there was the initiation or the imposing of martial law. This is predictive programming, getting us ready to begin to accept martial law, because now we're going to accept pro-government and believe that the government can protect us better than we can protect ourselves. At any rate, I'm going to stop there because I don't know how long this is. I wanted to get this out and try to connect some dots for you guys. Again, all I ask is that you think, man. All I ask is that you think and seek truth. And the only way that you can do that is you got to become curious. Most people are rationalized. They'll say, you know what? This is how it was done. They'll rationalize everything, and then they find themselves believing everything. But what I'm saying is critically think. Everything won't pass the smell test. Everything isn't a hoax or a stage. But in my opinion, these three events that I've shown today, they are controlled psyops. Does that mean that no one died? No. There are casualties in war. But I think that we can begin to understand the agenda of the establishment. The establishment is not United States. The establishment is worldwide. And what their agenda is. The rich rule over the poor in whatever way they can to divide us, the poor people. Divide us in talking about religion. Divide us in talking about race. Divide us in talking about gender. They can keep us from doing what they depicted in Turkey, which would be an overthrow of the government. And we can accept pro-government as the very foundation of control over our lives. This is ERGJ, order out of chaos. Yes, there's been chaos, but guess what? They have the order. All I ask is that you think instead of react.